What's going on YouTube and all you Call of Duty goers out there? Welcome to a brand new video on my channel and my first Call of Duty Warzone video. If you guys do end up enjoying this video, please take your viewership a step further and like the video. Leave a comment on what exactly you enjoyed, what exactly you learned, and also subscribe if you are new for more similar content as well as all the sports content we generally have on this channel. Nevertheless though, this is going to be a video where we go over tips and tricks that will help you in Call of Duty Warzone, but to be more specific, solos. And the reason solos is being the fact that that's generally what I play myself. I don't have a lot of friends who I vibe with, but also they're good at this game. So for that reason, I haven't really been able to play with others too often when playing Call of Duty. So I play solos a ton, and I've learned a lot with the amount of time I played solos. And I've also learned ideas and stuff from other people. And there's a lot of, obviously all the game modes overlap in plenty of different ways as far as how you should go about playing them. So a lot of what I will say in this video will apply to all the duos, trios, quads. It'll apply to all of those. But a few things will be a little bit more solo specific. But nevertheless, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Alright, so in this game, this is going to be footage of a game that I was able to get second place in, so nothing too crazy, but definitely thought it was a worthwhile game to at least use as an example of the different things that I'm going to discuss when it comes to playing solos. So this won't be going over any of the pre-game stuff such as your loadout classes and all of that stuff. That'll be something for another video that I may or may not do. I'm not positive that I will actually do that, but something I may do at a later point. Nevertheless, though, the first thing when you get into Warzone is obviously you're in the plane and you're trying to figure out where to drop. The places that I like to prioritize dropping are Storage Town, Superstore, Hospital, and downtown. I feel like all those places get, other than Superstore is a very high traffic area, but other than that, and even Storage Town can be as well. But I feel like depending on when you choose to go there, they can or cannot be. And as you're going to see, I did put a pin on Storage Town. That's because I didn't think many people would. Considering the angle the plane took, I didn't think many people would try to parachute all the way over to Storage Town, so I feel like I would be one of the only people there. And the reason I think that's important is because early game, I think your only real objective early game, yes, you can get kills, yes, you can do this, yes, you can do that, but your only real objective, in my opinion, early game should be to loot, to find better guns, and to get a lot of money. That should be your objective. Then you can worry about eliminating players and getting ready for the zone to decrease and all of that. But early game, I think that should be your real only focus. So for that reason, I decided to come to Storage Town. Lots of these storage units to loot, and you can get some good stuff here as well. And then there's also a buy station, which is what I also like about Storage Town. That's not in a too far off or weird spot. As you see, there is a red dot right there, but I think I come to figure out that that was someone who was in the sky. But yeah, so loot, upgrade your guns, get better guns. Obviously, there is like a whole hierarchy of this gun's better than that gun and that gun's better than this gun. But at the end of the day, too, you have to find guns that you're comfortable with using yourself. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Don't always try to just pick up any gun because it says legendary or because it says epic over the gun that you have. In my opinion, everyone has guns they prefer. And if you don't feel comfortable using a gun, you're generally going to be bad at using it. So find what you're comfortable with. Here, obviously, that guy was shooting at me. I thought he was going to chase me, especially early game. People are very aggressive, I feel, when they get into fights early game. So it was surprising to see that he decided not to chase me. And then I'm going to loot this box behind me and completely not see that a really good gun dropped out of it. So that was a little heartbreaking. The other thing to focus on, other than just looting, is when you do see people on your map shooting, don't, in my opinion, unless you really think, and this is just solos, right now I'm speaking of things that are specific to solos. If you have teammates and stuff, you can communicate, and doing like fights and battles early on when you have teammates really isn't the worst. But in my opinion, when it's just you, being overly aggressive early game really isn't the best recipe in my opinion, because then you burn your gulag, your one chance at the gulag, which can be much nicer if you can use that opportunity to go to the gulag later on in the game. And then obviously you can end up getting yourself in a sticky situation. And then also, if you don't have a silenced gun, you're giving away your position. Even if you do have a silenced gun, taking shots with your gun. Guns are extremely loud in Call of Duty. They completely dominate the sound in this game. So also just taking shots even with the silenced gun is very loud. And sound is so huge in this game. People figure out where other people are very often through sound. But I'm going to continue looting here, just going through every section that I can and getting what I can. And here in just a second, as I decide to swap out the pistol for the shotgun, which may be weird to some people, but the reason I decided to do that was because I'm not that comfortable with pistols, so I went with the shotgun. But this guy's going to try to run me over. I'm not sure exactly how he saw me, but I think it's maybe the guy from earlier, so he was willing to come this way. Thankfully, I run in here, saw him coming on my mini-map, and then I mount onto the little display thing, well, not display thing, but the cargo thing that was in front of me. And that's a big, that's another huge tip, is using mounting to as often and as much as you possibly can, because when you're mounted, it really does suppress the recoil on your gun and allows you to shoot more accurately. Mounting is your best friend if you can do it. If you can do it in a position where you actually still have a good view on the person that you're shooting at. Then I obviously take his territorial, because that was better than any gun I had at this point. But then another one pops out right there, which is funny. But I will take the P90 over that AK-47, because the P90 is one of the better, not too rare of guns as far as close range combat. And since I have the territorial, I no longer am that worried about long range to mid range combat. So I will take the P90 over the over that AK-47 with the red dot. But now I'll continue looting now that that guy's gone, because that seemed like one of the only people who was aware of my position. And then here pretty soon, with looking at the sky, I am going to see someone dropping what appears to be from the gulag and coming back in. And that's another huge thing. You want to look at the sky, just so you can see when people are doing that, especially because a lot of guys like to go back to their dead body. Generally you don't see this as often early game, because their dead body doesn't have a lot to loot still, like a lot around it. But later in the game, most people have the idea that you already have all the weapons you need, you have most of the ammo, the armor, and all that you need, but they're coming back from the gulag, so they don't have that. So they want to go back to their dead body and get back their gun, get back that stuff. So you'll see a lot of guys generally drop somewhere near the area of where their dead body was when they are coming back from the gulag. So something to keep an eye out for. Do have a dead body there on that roof, so that's interesting. But as you can see, I continue to loot, and what is going to drop out of that loot box is going to be a dead silence, and I think that's actually madly underrated in this game. So I do waste this precision airstrike just so I can take advantage of that, because once again, as I was saying earlier, sound is one of the hugest things in this game. Through the heartbeat sensor and through UAV, people will often know where you are, but the only way to fully pinpoint or have the best idea of exactly where you are in that exact moment is to be able to hear the person. And you can hear people in numerous different ways. Obviously guns, obviously running, even walking. You have to walk very slow and lightly to not make any noise really when you're walking. Opening loot boxes, putting on your armor, reloading your gun. All that stuff has a sound to it that is very much so able to be audible. It's very easily able to be heard. So for that reason, sound is everything, and being able to suppress your sound with dead silence is very worthwhile. So I think dead silence is very underrated, and I try to use it very often when I know I'm going into a situation where someone's kind of camped out in a building or hanging out in a building. I want to use my dead silence so they don't hear me coming. But I made a mistake at that buy station. I accidentally bought a gas mask when I already had one, so that was very foolish and stupid. But thankfully, a loadout drop does pop up right in this area that we're in, and no one's in this area, and I was able to confirm that with the heartbeat sensor, because that's the only scary thing about when you're going over to that loadout that you didn't throw down, or even when you throw down your own loadout, because of the smoke that emits from it. It's just that someone can see that and then try to camp out that loadout. But I didn't have any issues there. And having a heartbeat sensor really did help me not be too worried about that. But that is how I actually try to go about the loadout classes in solos, because in solos it's just you collecting money. You don't have the benefit of your friend going and doing a bunch of looting while you do a bunch of looting, and then you come back to each other and share that money and then buy anything you need. You don't have that luxury, so you accumulate money a lot slower. And because of the fact that you accumulate money so much slower, I think it's oftentimes not beneficial to waste 10,000 on a loadout class. And I would never say waste, I say spend 10,000, because it isn't a waste. Having your loadout is great for too many reasons. Having the heartbeat sensor, it's like the only real tactical out there, as it's just so good. So having your heartbeat sensor is generally worth it if you don't already have one. Having your loadout gun, if you have a lot of good perks and stuff on the gun, is worth it. But then also just getting your perks as well. Having your stuff like dead silence, if you have it, and having stuff like scavenger, if that's something you use. Just having those perks to your disposal, it really does give you that upper hand. And pretty much in Warzone, it's all about utilizing everything on the map to get the upper hand on your opponent. Whether it's doing the bounty hunters, whether it's having a lot of money and then spending it on UAVs, however you want to go about getting your upper hand, that is what you want to prioritize. But at this point, the loot has run dry in this area, so I am finally ready to leave it. And that is the thing about storage town, it's not the hugest, so loot will run dry. I do come over here and I see that guy right away, right in there. I guess he doesn't see me though, and I get some good shots on him, but unfortunately, try to throw a grenade in case he wanted to peek back out. Unfortunately, I meant to go to the door on the right, and I went to this one and didn't realize, and of course he was just camped on the stairs and will knock me out there. So that was a huge mistake on my end. I honestly never really go up those stairs. I was just trying to go through the downstairs area, but I made that mistake. So yeah, that one's on me. But I get a pretty bad guy here in the gulag, and we're able to get that win pretty easily. And my thing about the gulag, I won't go into a bunch of details on that in this video, but my thing about the gulag is I think that if you're going around corners, you should prioritize being scoped in. And then if it's not as quick as mine was there, always use your tactical to your advantage. Always, whether it's a stun grenade, flash, gas grenade, just always try to use those, because you never know if they can give you that upper hand once again on your opponent. And that's another thing, when you're looting around and everything, pick up, before you have your loadout class and then you have the heartbeat sensor, pick up all the tacticals, like pick up and just slowly go through them. For me personally, I love the stun, the flash, and I think there was one more. Stun, flash, that may be it. But I really love those two, so I pick up those two anytime before I have my heartbeat sensor. The other thing, as far as lethals go, I really love the C4. Everyone's using C4 right now. C4 is very OP. It is extremely strong. When you find someone and you can hide behind something and then go back to looking at them, if you're able to throw C4 and just knock off all their shields or almost knock them out just with that, it's always in your best interest to do that. So C4 is your best friend. Here, I was trying to break that window and had no clue why I wasn't breaking, but then when I jumped down, it broke. So maybe just like a weird glitch in the game that you can't be sitting on the windowsill and break it. But yeah, here I'm just going to continue to loot, and when I'm coming back from the gulag, I generally never go to the same area that I was in previously of where my dead body was left off, unless it's later in the game, like I was saying. Just because there's no loot over there. There was absolutely nothing to loot where I was killed, and then also I just generally think where my body was taken, that area is now considered like a hot area. It's probably occupied. There's probably a guy there waiting for someone, and if not, someone maybe heard those gunshots. If they didn't hear the gunshots, maybe one of us didn't have a suppressor on our gun. Someone saw the red dot and they run over there. People are very eager to get kills in this game, so they use any reason to go to an area where they think there may be someone to get in combat. So oftentimes it's not in your best interest to drop back where your dead body was. Especially if there's no loot. If there's still loot there, that's a different case. But in my case, like, the storage town was fully looted at that point. So here I have the higher ground, and using parkour is huge when you get into battles and stuff, but also just getting the higher ground and scoping out your surroundings is really good. Just turn around, look in all different directions, see if you see anybody. If you don't see anybody, get back to looting. If it's not later in the game, get right back to looting. Right now the map is still huge. The gas hasn't taken much from us. Gotta keep looting. Then that works out, as now I don't have to spend money on a gas mask. I'm also very huge on closing doors, as you probably had noticed at this time, and the reason that I do that is for two reasons. Once again, sound. If someone's opening a door, there's a chance I'm going to hear them opening that door. So that's a huge reason why I like to do it, so that I can hear someone opening the door if they end up going that route. And then the other reason is that from my own perspective, I generally, or at least not so much as now, but I definitely previously used to generally think a building with all doors closed is a building that hasn't been looted. No one's been to that building yet, because you generally just see one of the doors open. So I also like to close the door to give off the appearance that no one's in the building, and then obviously be in that building. So just another thing to play some psychological games with your opponents, because I do think people generally think that way, like, oh, all these doors are closed, no one's probably went here yet. So here, going to pull up my map, see how much the circle has decreased, and then also, find a buy station, because at this point now, I have a decent bit of money, and I want to use that money to get a self-revive kit and get a UAV. And that's just my personal preference. Obviously, in this scenario, I don't have my loadout class, so this is a scenario where I perfectly understand buying your loadout class, but I felt like I did a lot of scavenging to get to the point of having this amount of money. So I don't want all of it to be gone just on on my loadout class, and I think I have some decent guns, so I'm comfortable with getting the self-revive and a UAV. Exactly what I do. Use the UAV now, realize that nobody's near me at all really, so let the looting commence. Now I'm going to notice there's a guy in front of me, and there I can see him clearly, so I'm going to pull out my gun that's better at long range and has the thermal, and see if I can get him. Once I notice he has a sniper, I get a little bit more skeptical on if this is worth it. And that's another thing as well. If someone's shooting you from far and they have a sniper, and you don't have that good of a long range gun, then, or a gun with a lot of recoil like the gun I'm trying to use to shoot him with, it's probably not in your best interest to keep fighting that battle. I give it as long as a chance as I can, but since he's just jumping and not staying there, I'm just wasting too much ammo doing this, so I do eventually decide that this isn't worth it. So just to go over the main points that have already been discussed in this video, in case you guys need a quick recap, is looting is your best friend early on in the game. Don't worry about kills, don't worry about bounties, And personally, I actually didn't even talk about the contracts yet. Personally, for me, I don't worry about the bounty contracts much. When I first started playing, I loved the bounty contracts because it was like, oh, I get like a kind of spotty UAV to find where someone is. That's great. And that can still be great in certain scenarios. But for me, it is those magnifying glass contracts. I can't think of what the exact name for them are right now, but those are the best contracts because it tells you where 3 loot boxes are, and they go up in quality as you move further as well. So you can generally get like a satchel from that, to where now you can carry 8 armor pieces, which is awesome. Or you can get a gas mask. You never know what you can get out of that. So and then you just get so much money from having the 3 loadout classes too. So it's very beneficial. So I like that a lot. At this point, I have 4 kills. There's only 16 people left. I'm not super satisfied with the amount of kills that I have, but I'm glad that I'm still here with only 15 people left at this point. Obviously, I'm going to make my way over to this loadout drop, make sure I don't see anybody, and snag that up. As once again, just avoiding paying money for it, just because I would have no money for UAV and other stuff. So 10,000 is a lot in solos. It is quite a lot. Not when we had the, what was that other mode called with the extra money? When we had that mode, then I would splurge on a loadout class, but not anymore. But I do decide to stay behind this rock. Once the circle gets smaller, this is something that I love to do. The thing that I like to do is hang out on the edge of the circle, knowing that people are eventually going to have to come this way. So yeah, it's something I really do like to do once the circle starts to get smaller. Now we're down to just 12 people though. Obviously I got a gas mask looting. I have a self-revive kit. I have my loadout class, didn't buy one, and right there, easy kill, because I'm staying out right on the edge. And you have those guys who wait way too long. They wait way too long to get into the circle, and then they have to just sprint. They don't even get to slowly creep and make sure they take good steps. They have to literally just run into the circle, and that makes for easy kills if you can just prioritize being on the edge of the circle. So something I really like to do. Some other people like to get the best like middle position in the circle, hoping that the circle will collapse on them so that they can get first. But I like chilling on the edge of the circle. So I did see that guy, but I'm not seeing where the heck he went. I thought he would come out through that right side of this wall, but he's not showing up. Now he's not even on my heartbeat sensor, so that's pretty interesting. But then I see the red dot on the mini map coming from that direction. So I am going to snag that guy, pick him off, and then there was another person who was shooting at him. I took the kill from him. That was why I was able to kill him so easily, because he had already taken so much damage. So then I move over here. That guy was just a little too in the open with the way he was reloading. He probably wanted to make sure he was aiming down or something if he was going to be that in the open while reloading. So very easy to pick him off for me. Now I have 7 kills, feeling better about my kill total, and there's only 8 people left. And once again, I was just looking at the edge of the circle because I knew that as the circle gets smaller, people are just going to have to keep coming in from different angles, and the angle I was at, there was people who were coming in from there, so it worked out. So here I kind of relax before just hopping in, because now the circle is really, really small. So I try to give myself some time before I make any moves, especially because I don't see much coverage from the angle that I'm currently at to the circle. I don't see much at all, and that's making me a little uneasy, as you always want to be covered as much as possible, especially when you're going into the small part of the circle. So there I should have also picked up that cluster strike. I don't know why I didn't do that. Just because we're at a point in the game now though where the airstrikes and the cluster strikes are actually pretty good. So that was a mistake on my end, not picking up that cluster strike. Now just 5 people left. Circle's really coming in on me now though. That gas is approaching. So I know I have to make my move soon. I didn't want to do it with seeing these cluster strikes going down. I was like, woo, can't go that way yet. But then it's like, I can't really go that way either without going into the gas. And I don't just want to waste any of my gas mass lifespan. So just waited it out a sec. Go around this wall. And I am going to see that a guy is likely in that plane. But then that guy pops up. So I was like, let me pick him off first. But then a dude takes that kill from me. So I know for sure a guy's in there. But he probably knows I'm here too. And he does. And I get him. But then the last guy's going to shoot me. But he had to reload. And I'm able to self-revive while he's reloading. I think he just decided to camp it out. But I'm 2 in the circle. I try to run for it, and that guy was just camped out waiting for me. So not the best, like the best ending, just because I didn't realize that that guy was the last person left. If I knew he was last left, I would have dealt with that way differently. But I thought there was like a few people left. But nevertheless, that's going to be an 8-kill game, I'm pretty sure, for you guys, and the 2nd place finish. So still not the worst game at all. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. I hope some of these tips definitely help you out as you endeavor back out there into Warzone and try to win you guys some games. Once again, if you want to play with me, leave your PSNs in the comment section. I'll try to add you guys up. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Like, subscribe, and comment. Sajugger signing out. Peace.